Hey guys, Wallen Customs here, and today it is time for the DC Films, DC Collectibles, Batman v Superman figure right here. Very interesting figure to have right here. Now these are actually around 7-inch figures. I normally don't collect them because I have all strictly 6-inch figures. That's the scale I collect, but I cannot deny this one. I just had to see what the fuss is all about. So let's open them up. Alright guys, so here is Henry Cavill's Superman out of the box. Now I want to say this off the bat. Remember, this isn't that cheap of a figure. This new line of DC film figures can run you up to 40 to 50 bucks depending on where you buy it from. So you should be really picky if you really want to get this or not. But that being said, they do come with a decent amount of accessories. They also come with instructions as well on how to like put the heat vision in his eyes and stuff like that. So that's pretty good too. But going back to the figure itself, he does come with a new stand, which is pretty good, pretty cool actually. I want to point that out. So for this stand, you know, a lot of figures do come with stands, but this one, if you look closely, it's actually spring-loaded right here, the little thumb right there, and only this part moves back and forth. So that's pretty nice. You know, it does secure the figure in pretty good, so you could have that option right there. And down the line, of course, it has different pivots and hinges that you can do whatever you want. A lot of different holes on the bottom as well. Maybe if you have two of them, you can stick two of these on it, the pull. So that's pretty interesting. And as for the other accessories, he does come with a second head right there that you put the heat vision in. So we'll get more into that later. And of course, he does come with 2 extra pairs of hands, and aside from his fist hands right here. And one is semi-open, one is opened a little bit. So we'll get more into that later. But first off, I know everyone wants to see is size comparisons. Alright guys, size comparisons. Here is Superman with some of the other Supermans from all these different lines. Here's the Mayfex one. Here is the, I guess you could call it DC Masters, or you want to call it that one. And this is the DC Unlimited Classic one, if you want to call it that as well. As you can see, they all have basically different kinds of builds, different kinds of looks, different kinds of heights, and somewhat you can see that as well. This one is a lot taller compared to the rest. Like I said before, these are pretty much a 6-inch scale. These 3 right here, this one can basically pass for a 7-inch scale. If I really wanted to see his height, he is just about 7 inches. I know the camera angle is a little bit different, but if you look under, if you look at a person, he's just under 7 inches, maybe 6 and like 8/10. You know, he's right there though. Definitely is a little bit bigger of a figure. But can he pass for the line? You know, really depends on yourself. If you want a big Superman, you could pass for your 6-inch figures. You know, just a really imposing figure or imposing person in your collection. So it really is up to you. Alright, next up we do have the Mezco Armored Batman right here. And I did not buy the DC Films Armored Batman because I already have this one. I love this one so much already. There's no point in me spending 45, 50 bucks on a figure that I might not even like when I have a perfectly fine one right here. And to be honest, they don't look that bad together. You know, this one is a particularly bigger figure compared to the rest of the 6-inch line, you know, the 1/12 scale. And he looks pretty good, I have to admit. I don't mind the size between these two at all. You know, Superman could be shorter, he could be taller than Batman, however you want it, compared to the movies or in the comics. But either way, I think these are a pretty good match together side by side. And I'm also getting the non-armored Batman from Mezco, so we'll see how they match up in the end. But to be honest, I like how this looks. It's not that bad. You know, you could probably bend him a little bit like this, bring it down his head like that. You know, they could look pretty good side by side, so I don't have a problem right there at all. Alright, next up we have the Mayfex Wonder Woman and the Mayfex Batman figure right here. And you know, like I said, it really depends on how big you want Wonder Woman to be in your collection. These two side by side may look a little bit off as well because Batman is a lot smaller compared to the Superman figure. So it really depends on how you like it. Detail wise though, you know, if he wasn't so tall, they actually look pretty good together in my opinion. They do look like they're almost in the same sculpting realm, if that makes sense. But like I said before, the height might be a little bit too much for these 3 right here. And here he is of some other DC classic, DC Universe figures, if you want to call them that. A little bit better in scale, kind of, but still, you know, the sculpting might be a little bit different and off. Unless you change the head to be a little bit more, you know, like cartoonish, comic book like, it might pass. But That's how it is right there. Now for another size comparison, here he is of some other Marvel Legend figures, so you can see how they look like side by side. You know, the size ain't that bad. You know, you could generally have Superman bigger than some people like this, and it might not look that bad at all side by side together. But, you know, like I said, it really comes down to preference, how you like it. And for fun right now, here he is of some of the other Hulks in my collection. We have the SH Figure Arts Hulk right there, and we also have the Figma Hulk right there. And for another size comparison, here is Doomsday from the Build-A-Figure series right there. And here is the movie figure Lex Luthor, all in shackles, going to jail. To be honest, this is not a bad size comparison right here between all three of them. I think it looks pretty good. And for a last size comparison, here is Superman with Spider-Man and Venom, actually, because I had him out on my display. And I have to say, this is not a bad size comparison. You know, Venom could be a little bit taller, but it really isn't that bad because he definitely has the bulk. But Superman and Spider-Man here look pretty good to me. So, like I said before, it all comes down to preference, how you like your Superman. You want to be big and imposing, or you want to be a little bit smaller. You know, it could really fit either way, to be honest. If I had it my way, I would definitely change the head, perhaps, to make him look a little more in the same realm of comic book looking or cartoon looking or something like that. At least comic book looking. So he could definitely match up with your rest of your collection, because he is pretty much movie accurate sculpting right there. Alright, now that we have all of the size comparisons done with, let's take a look at the figure itself really quickly. And, you know, like I said, it's a decent looking figure. The sculpting on it is okay. Right here in the ab joint, I think it's a little bit too small for my liking, but overall the figure itself is pretty nice looking, so let's look at it up close and personal. Alright, now taking a look at the head first. You know, the head sculpt is okay. It seems like every single toy company just can't get Henry Cavill down right. Every single company looks a little bit different. A little bit good stuff here, a little bit bad stuff there. You know, I'm just gonna say it looks pretty decent overall. It's not horrible, but not the best. But that's all I'm going to say for that. But going down to the rest of the body, I like the sculpting job on the suit. It looks pretty nice. You can see the nice texture in it. It looks really clean. The body sculpt itself looks really nice as well. Really chiseled, very beefy looking as well. You can see the design on the suit as well looks pretty good. The nice glossy blue on the outfit. You know, pretty standard. Almost every single Superman has it, but this one to me oddly stands out a little bit more. I think it's the choice of glossy blue that they used on it. You can see the gold on around his waist right there, looks pretty nice as well, and this goes all the way down to there. Taking a look at the boots, you know, the boots are actually painted on red. You can see a little bit bleeding in it. Doesn't look the best. That could be pretty bad quality control right there. It should also be noted that, like, over here on top of the boots is actually sculpted, and it's not directly underneath the kneecaps right there, so it's a little bit to the side. It's kind of interesting approach to it. Nothing bad, but it's just a little bit different than you would think of it being directly underneath the knees, but not a horrible thing. Going down to the side right there, like I said before, I like the sculpting of the body though. It looks very reminiscent to how Henry Cavill's body does look like. He's a pretty beefy guy, so it looks pretty nice. Taking a look at the back right here, I love the back right here. You see his muscles, the back muscles right there look really nice. And also that, you know, this design right here, it just looks really nice. It goes all the way up his spine over here, so that looks pretty cool. Overall, it's a really great job when it comes to the suit itself. So no complaints there. The S is pretty good. No real complaints. I feel like there should be like more gold over here, but I could be wrong. But it looks like a little splotchy right here though, but if that's how it looks like, that's how it looks like, right? But overall, looks pretty decent. So next up, I want to talk about the cape, which I like a lot. It goes right into the shoulders over here, pretty hidden, which is pretty nice. And another thing I like about it is that it is wired on the sides, which the Mafex one did not do. They actually had a wire on the bottom, which I don't understand why. Overall, it looks pretty good. It's a little bit wrinkled when it came out of the box, but overall, it's a pretty good material. Looks nice, and you know, it flows pretty good. So I like how it looks. The wire is pretty kind of thick. You could kind of feel it. But you could definitely bend it pretty well, so you shouldn't have a problem there. Like I said before, the Mafex one was horrible. Like, it was on the bottom. I felt like a really thin wire, so when you kind of stretched it out, it didn't look right. This was a lot easier to use and manage. So pretty good job on their part when it comes to the wire. and a cape. Now I also want to actually comment on the body sculpt itself. I understand what they were trying to do, honestly, because Henry Cavill does actually have a pretty small waist for a big guy as he is. Like, he has a bodybuilder's body, to be honest. Small waist, big chest, big shoulders, kind of big arms, like thick-wise, but they're kind of short as well. So I do understand where they were coming from when they were trying to make this. Like, if you look on the side, it looks pretty good. Like, he does have kind of a round belly, but it's a six-pack. Like, he has that, I'm not gonna say a steroid belly, but you understand where I'm coming from. But so I understand what they were trying to do with the body sculpt right here. On some angles it looks pretty good. Straight on it looks kind of weird because it's so thin right here, but it's not horrible. You know, it's starting to grow on me a little bit because also you do have a ball joint here and a ball joint there. So when you kind of like angle it in certain ways, it looks pretty realistic. So to be honest, it does kind of look pretty realistic to how Henry Cavill's body does look like. But that's just how I see it. You could probably see it differently. Overall, though, I think it's pretty decent. It's kind of growing on me, to be honest, so I don't really see a problem. Alright, so going to articulation really quickly, which is pretty good right here. So he has a ball joint ahead, goes up, pretty decent, it's okay, goes down a little bit as well, pretty decent. Left and right pivots as well, so it's pretty standard right there. He has butterfly joints at the shoulders, which is pretty good. Goes a little bit, you know, not the biggest range, but it's there definitely. He also has normal hinge joints at the shoulders that rotate up pretty good, go down all the way around too. Bicep swivel, 2 points at the elbow right there, looks like. And at the wrist, he has a ball joint hinge kind of like thing going on there, and it swivels and kind of rotates around, so it's pretty good. He does have a ball joint right here at the upper ab part right there, so it goes up and down a little bit, pivots left and right. You could kind of turn it left and right as well. I don't think it's really meant to do that though. At the lower ab joint right here, he has another ball joint, so it goes up and down right there. Like, he doesn't have the greatest ab crunch, to be honest. If you actually look at it, it doesn't really go down that much at all. But for some odd reason, I don't really mind, because I don't know, it doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I don't know why, but anyway, it does swivel a little bit left and right as well. Not a full range though, but it does get around. But somewhat realistic, because you can't really twist your whole body all the way around anyway, right? Going down to the rest, he has T-jointed hips, pretty good to go about that far. Go back a little bit, you actually do kind of hinge down a little bit as well. Do that. He does have a pivot there as well, kind of a thing going on there. He does have a swivel at the thigh, it looks like, but I can't get it moving, and I don't want to try. I'm not sure if it's stuck or something, but I have to loosen it up maybe, so we'll see what happens. But this little pivot right here at the upper part of the hip is good enough for me, so I'm not going to try to force it at all. Going down to the knees, 2 points at the knees right there, and at the ankle he has a pivot and a hinge. But on this foot, it is very, very tight, and I feel like I'm going to break it sometime, so I don't really want to stress it out. You can hear it. It's like really tight for some reason. This one, though, is pretty good. I don't mind moving it. It feels a lot better, so it has a hinge and a pivot, so that's pretty good. So, yeah, the articulation is there. Some parts of the body is a little tighter than I would like it to be, like this leg at the ankle and at the thighs. But overall, I have to say the articulation is pretty decent. I am actually really impressed by the arm movement, because it's actually very smooth, and it doesn't feel like anything's tight. It actually rotates really nice and smooth. Really impressive, actually, to be honest. I do like that. But the leg part right here kind of scares me. I don't know how I'm going to loosen that up without kind of snapping it. I don't think it's really, like, it's not the rubber part, it's not the foot, it's not the leg, it's the actual plastic peg itself, and you can't really heat that up to loosen it because it's hard plastic. I might have to like spray it with like WD-40 or something to loosen it up, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. But either way, articulation is pretty decent and I like it. Alright, so going back to the accessories, which I did not forget about, if you want to change the hands out, it's pretty simple. You want to just pull out the hand like that, and it has a very, very small ball joint. Kind of scary how small it is, to be honest. Here, take a look at that. Look how small that is, and look at the little stem it has connected to the rest of the hand. It's a little bit scary how small that is, but surprisingly it is holding pretty well, so I guess you can't really complain that much about it. But something to know about, and you just stick it on the new one like that, and you're good. And you can do whatever you want with him. I'm like, nah, Lois. Alright, so the next up is the alternative head that he comes with, and he has the 2 little holes in his eyes to put the heat vision. And hopefully yours come out straighter than mine, because you can see mine out of the box. It's a little bit warped over here. I'm gonna have to take some heat to it and straighten it out, but it's so thin though that I'm really scared that I might snap it or break it. So we're just gonna do it as is for now, and hopefully I can do this in one shot, sticking in that. Like I said before, mine isn't straight, so look how retarded that looks, right? I'm gonna have to flatten those out, but for the sake of the video, we're just gonna do it right now. And like I said before, these are really thin. See this part? This one has a little bit of plastic on it. I gotta rip it off. There you go. No, didn't do enough, but whatever. Maybe take a nail clipper to that might be a little bit better. But getting these little pegs in to these eyes is hard because it's not the smoothest cut. So like I said before, this one isn't really going in because you take a look at it. Get into focus. Look at that. Look how not good that looks as a peg. So that's definitely not going into the other hole. So I'm gonna have to trim this with a nail clipper, perhaps clean it up because it's not going into the eyeball. But this is pretty much what you get for now. Pretty cool, right? Alright, so next, if you want to take the head off, you just pop it off. Oh my god, that was actually very hard to do. But yeah, so you take the other one, you stick it on. Oh man, give me 1 second actually. Alright, so here he is with the new head on and one beam of heat vision coming out. So you can see how that looks like on the side view at least. It's okay, you know, it's a gimmicky look. If you straighten it out, it looks a little bit better. If you fix the other peg hole, it'll look pretty cool, I guess. So it's something nice to have overall. I'm sorry guys, I just don't have time to do it right now for the video, but this is what you could get. Here we go. Alright guys, now to finish off the video. First off, what I did right here, I popped on the Mattel head to see how it looks like. And to be honest, it's not that bad. I mean, from far away, you might not notice it, but close up, the neck and the head might be a little bit of a different shade, but it really isn't that horrible. But what do you guys think about this head on this body? It looks a little bit different. Actually, this looks a little bit more movie accurate, to be honest. But that's just how I see it. And with the smaller head now, he actually does look a little bit better than some of the other figures. So, yeah, I don't know. But other than that, you know, the figure itself is pretty decent. A little bit mixed bag of feelings, to be honest. You know, I'm gonna have to work on the ankle right here and also the thigh joint, which surprisingly is moving all of a sudden. Interesting. So he does have a thigh swivel right there. And you can see it's moving now. I don't know why it's starting to move now all of a sudden. This one isn't though, but yeah. So quality control wise, you know, it's not the greatest because of the paint over here, also the tight joints. I mean, you can even hear it up here as well. So yeah, this is the new line of figures. So you know, first batch, who knows how they are. Maybe the second batch of figures might get a little bit better. But like I said, it's a pretty interesting figure. I do understand and I understand why they made the waist so small looking. At first I didn't like it, but now it's starting to grow on me as I did this review and have the figure in my hand now, so I don't really mind it. Yeah, so it's really hard to say. Is this figure worth the price though? Remember, this is not a cheap figure. It's gonna run you around 40 to 45 bucks. Is it worth buying? If you're a die-hard, you know, Superman fan, I would say yes. I think it's pretty good. If you're not, you could probably pass on it. But if you're looking to collect 6-7 inch figures for your collection, I could definitely see you picking this one up. And I know that did not help at all anyway. But other than that, I do like the figure. It definitely is one of my favorite Superman figures in my collection because this is overall a pretty decent figure. He's nice, big, intimidating. He could definitely pass in your collection for your 6-inch scale ones because he's just a huge guy. Yeah, articulation wise, it's pretty good. It has all the great articulation points in it. Some might be a little bit restricted, but it still looks pretty nice. So I hope this review was helpful, guys. I just want to show you some key things on it. I like it a lot. I think the cape is great as well. You can definitely pose it pretty well. Remember, the stand, it comes with a stand as well too, so don't forget that. You do have the heat vision eyes if you want to use that, but you might have to fix yours. So yeah, definitely a mixed bag of feelings when it comes to this figure, but overall I definitely like it, so I guess that's all that matters, right? And you will probably, if you like something, you like something. You will definitely live with the cons to it and work through it the best way you can. It's how you feel, right? Alright, so anyway, that's about it, guys. I don't know what else to say. I like it. I do understand it has some bad things about it, but I will get through it and fix it if I can. And that's about it, guys, so thanks for watching. Like always, comment, criticize, subscribe, do whatever you want to pay attention. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to wildlandcustoms.com. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Peace!